you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Do you feel it?
Yes, we do.
A worldwide awakening is upon us. Welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show. The Universal Consciousness Show, where we explore topics such as UFOs, aliens, banned medical cures, as well as classified secret knowledge. Come question your holographic existence. Share experiences from the other side. This is a show that will expand your mind as we decrypt the symbolic messages locked away deep within your DNA. And now, your guides for this magical journey. The hosts of the Universal Consciousness Show, Aage, Nost, and Diana Seraphim.
Hello, hello. It is a delight for me to introduce to you again and bring back to the Universal Consciousness Show Jim Nichols. And for those of you that don't know him or did not hear the last show, I want to say just a few things about him. He is a friend of mine and lived right here in Tucson, where I'm at. And he was doing TV shows at the TCCC, the same station that I was doing. And he has put together a group here in Tucson that we are now part of. That's called Quantum Horizon, where we have monthly meetings, where we have guest speakers sometimes, or discussion groups coming together, or we show, or he shows actually, the latest video productions that he's putting together. Besides, I get to eat the donuts and drink the coffee over there. That is like, I like that. And since 1980, he's been an illustrator and a painter of landscapes and UFO art, with a large number of paintings and published internationally. You can see them on the internet all over the place. If you ever see a piece of UFO art, it is a very good likelihood it is one of his paintings. And his art is routinely featured on the History Channel's UFO Hunters. He has 33 illustrated blogs on his website, and here's the website. Write this down. It is jimnicholsufo.net. That is jimnicholsufo.net. And over the last several years, he has created video productions like Nazi German Flying Discs, The Aldebaran Mystery, which actually won 2 EBE awards at the 2010 International UFO Conference in Las Vegas. Well, actually a little south of there, like Laughlin, Nevada. And Jim is also featured speaker at the March 2019 MegaCon at Laughlin also. And he's done 20 video documentaries of UFO for UFO TV Disclosure Channel. So he's got quite a background in the UFO arena and in the art arena. So I want Jim Nichols back here right on the Universal Consciousness Show. Hello, hello, Jim.
Hello, Aage. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we're going to have so fun. This is going to be fun.
Hello,
Hello,
Jim.
Diana.
Hello,
Diana.
Jim.
How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. I'm very happy to have you here back for the second part of the Billi Meier story. And we already heard in the first part that you have a lot of information about the untold part of the story. So maybe you can continue so we don't waste too much time.
Yeah, well, I went back and looked at my notes, and I reviewed a lecture by Wendell Stevens on YouTube, and I thought, holy cow, we could go on for days. We could go for days with this stuff. But anyway, I thought there are a few highlights that I really wanted to talk about that we missed out on the last time. So
yeah, there's so much to talk about when it comes to Billi Meier, and a lot of it has been talked about before. But for the people that is not that familiar with that story, maybe we just recap a little bit.
Yeah, let's do that. Edward Billi Meier was a handicapped night watchman who lived in a small town in the remote area of Switzerland, just not too far from Zurich. And in January 1975, he had a telepathic contact to get on his little moped. He didn't own a car. He had a very limited income, but he had a little motorbike that he rode out to the woods, and he noticed a singing noise in the sky. And he looked up, and he saw this beautiful silver flying saucer, swoop down out of the clouds, and then slowly land in a clearing in the woods on tripod legs. And he tried to approach the craft, and the closer he got to it, he was like there's a force field, an invisible force field, that prevented him from getting too close to the craft. So he decided to just sit down in the grass and watch what happens. So the craft landed. He's sitting in the grass, and he notices a figure come out from behind the UFO, behind the saucer, and it was a petite young woman who walked right up to him and started to talk with him. And she said the two of them had a conversation that lasted about 20 minutes. And she explained, she said, I could tell you my name, but she said that you couldn't pronounce it. It would be too difficult for you to pronounce. So she says, just call me Semyasi. And she said, I'm here to demonstrate to humans of Earth that they are not alone in the universe, that there are other intelligent beings that live out in space. And she further stated that she felt a certain obligation to Earth humans because we all come from the same parent race, that our forebears were their forebears. So she said, in a sense, we're all cousins. So
Wow.
That's how it all started. And she said that we will have multiple contacts with you, Mr. Meier, and you will be allowed to photograph our spaceships so that Earth humans will have the best quality photographs of UFOs ever taken. And this was 1975. By 1979, Billy had more than 100 contacts with this woman from the stars, and by that time he had a huge collection of photographs of UFOs, and that they had allowed him to take. And then I came on board with this investigation in 1980 because a gentleman, a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel named Wendell Stevens, had become the primary investigator of this case. And he was based here in Tucson, and I got to meet him, and being an artist illustrator, I decided there were aspects of this case that I could illustrate for Wendell to help him tell the story of the Billy Meier UFO contact case. So that, in a nutshell, is how I got on board.
Yeah, and I know you've had a lot of fun with that because both you and me have had Colonel Wendell Stevens on our TV shows here in Tucson, and he was such a delight, and he had so much information that I remember when we got on one of the shows that I did with him, when the hour was up, I felt like I got cheated because I knew there was more he could talk about, and we didn't get the time to do it.
Exactly right. Well, Wendell was an absolutely meticulous researcher. I mean, he had an eye for detail that was just phenomenal. And I just watched a lecture that he'd done in 1999 in Las Vegas. Or no, I think it was at Laughlin, actually. And it's 1999, and he's explaining meticulously the same information that he told me in 1980. So it was just a delight to get to hear it all over again. And I it's my favorite UFO case. To this day, for me personally, the jury's still out on whether this was real or not. But certain aspects of it are absolutely real, and the other aspects of it seem contrived. So it's like the jury is still out for me. But it's still my favorite UFO case. And whether the flying saucers are real or not, as an artist, they are absolutely beautiful. And it's like if I was going to invent my own UFO case, I would have flying saucers that look just like the Pleiadians. So anyway.
If you say that the jury is still out, I think that's a stacked jury, because what I'm concerned, that thing is real. I looked into it enough, and there is no chance that it cannot be real.
Well, certain aspects of it are absolutely, have been totally verified. And but I can't prove that he really did go to the Pleiades. I can't prove that he really did talk to beings that were extraterrestrials. But we can pretty much prove that, that the photographs that were actually digitally examined came out positive. That whatever he photographed was in fact a large object photographed at some distance from the camera. But over the years, since between 1975 and 1994, I think that a lot of disinformation was dumped into the story, and to where it's like you can't absolutely prove it anymore. You can't prove it.
Yeah,
I can share. Let me just share. They did do digital examination. There was one particular shot which shows one of the saucers, one of the beam ships, hovering near a wood pile. And that shot was examined by Neil Davis of the Design Technology Labs contracted with General Dynamics and the United States Navy. And his comment was, he says, nothing was found in the examination of the print which could cause me to believe that the object in the photo was anything other than a large object photographed at some distance from the camera. So whether it's from the Pleiades or not, nobody knows. But even if you have one legitimate photograph of an unknown object, you have a UFO case. You have a solid UFO case. So that sells it to me. It's like, okay, we have a legitimate UFO case here for sure. But then Billy took more than just still pictures of these saucers. He took 8mm movie footage of these saucers. And remember, this is 1975, and he's taking these movies on a home movie camera. And the footage, there's one particular footage that shows one of the beam ships circling around a pine tree. You're familiar with that, right, Aage?
Yes.
That looks damn convincing to me.
Yeah, it does.
And they gave that they gave that footage to the special effects designers for the movie Independence Day. Okay? That's Volker Engel and Mark Weigert. These are the guys that did the Academy Award-winning special effects for Independence Day. And what they said is like, yes, they remember seeing a shot of the Super 8 reel that showed a UFO circling around a fairly tall tree. According to that shot, we said that we can't conclusively say whether it's real or not, but it seemed impossible to stage that kind of shot with a miniature. It would have to be hanging on a very tall crane with wires, but even then, the movements would be hard to achieve. So yes, in regards to that shot, we mentioned that we could definitely do it today with computer graphics. But at the time these were supposedly shot, it would have been very hard, probably even impossible, to fake that kind of shot. So there's another solid verification that the films and the movie footage, were regarded as authentic, at least some of them. Okay.
Yeah, and I also understand that they investigated the pixels in it, and they found no break in the pixels where it could have been inserted into the picture. So it couldn't have been done back then, at least.
Yeah, that's the thing, and Open Minds did a piece a while, not too long ago, called "Beam Ships Busted," where Open Minds debunked the whole Billy Meier case, and they showed pictures of how you could use computer graphics to insert pictures of flying saucers into photographs of the Swiss countryside. Well, that's fine in 2008. But these pictures were originally taken in 1975 before there was digital computer graphics. Yeah. So it's like some of the debunks are really kind of ludicrous when you think about it. But given the quality of the camera, given Billy's limited resources, given that this is 1975, long before sophisticated computer graphics technology, you have to argue that these pictures should be regarded as pretty authentic. Mm-hmm. And in all the years since then, the 40 years since then, you would think that people with better camera equipment, better financing, no physical handicaps would have created a landslide of UFO photographs that would be way better than Billy Meier could ever do. But to this day, 2019, Billy Meier's photographs are the best UFO photographs ever taken. Mm-hmm. So there it is.
Yeah, and then to the more behind the curtain information that you have received from the notes that Colonel Stevens had, that gets even more interesting.
That's true. And there is one issue that I wish Wendell was here because I would take it up with him. Wendell explained that Billy's camera was broken. It was jammed. Its focus was jammed on infinity, so it couldn't shoot anything in focus that was closer than 35 feet from the camera. Okay. Mm-hmm. So most of Billy's shots show the craft at a distance, and the saucer and the background are all pretty much in focus.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the so-called wedding cake picture, the wedding cake UFO, because that is obviously photographed at close range. That's been photographed way at close up, and it's like if we were shooting with Billy's camera, it would have been out of focus. But there's pictures of the wedding cake UFO in front of Billy's farmhouse, and the UFO and Billy's house are both in focus. So I think, well, wait a minute. Did Billy get another camera? Did Billy get his camera fixed? Or is this a fake picture? So, and Wendell never told me that they had done computer graphic analysis of the wedding cake pictures, the wedding cake UFO. So that one I have a question mark on.
Yeah, that's the picture. Yeah, that's the picture where actually it is sitting in the ship is sitting in his front yard, and
exactly. And it was it's not a big ship.
Yeah, it's but it's so intricately accurate.
It's beautifully done. It's beautifully photographed, and you can and it's in focus. It's totally in focus.
Yeah.
So Billy had to. I'd like to find out how did he photograph with the camera that can't photograph anything in focus unless it's more than 35 feet away. So that, yes, I do have a problem with that.
Well, let's presume that he had the camera fixed, because it is one of the later photos.
That's just it. That's the problem. It's one of the later photographs. Yep. But anyway, Billy took his film to a photography shop in nearby Wet'suwet'en, and Willie Barr was the man who ran the shop, and he confided to researchers that He says, I don't know what Billy Meier's taking pictures of. He says, but I can tell you the photographs are authentic. So, anyway, over the course of the investigation, Wendell and his team realized that there was a limit to what they could prove or not prove with regards to Billy's claims. And Billy, the Pleiadian technologies that Billy was describing were interstellar space travel, were robotics, teleportation, and kinds of technologies that you'd only read about in science fiction.
Yeah.
So Wendell said, well, since we can't really prove that, let's do an end run around this issue and talk to some aerospace professionals and see if is it really possible to fly from Earth to the Pleiades in 8 hours, the way Semyazi described it. So they met with a gentleman. They contacted a gentleman who worked for McDonnell Douglas Aerospace by the name of David Froning. And they had an interview with him, and he very candidly admitted that, yes, well, as a matter of fact, we are developing our theories for faster-than-light travel that would, in fact, allow us to fly from, say, the planet Earth to the Pleiades, a star cluster is 500 light years from Earth, that we could probably do it in about 8 hours. So essentially, here we have an aerospace engineer from McDonnell Douglas who's confirming that, yeah, theoretically it is possible using an anti-gravity propulsion system to go from Earth to the Pleiades in about 8 hours.
And that conversation was probably back in the 1980s when he approached them on something like that?
Yeah, that was probably about 1979.
Yeah.
1979. So he said the propulsion system he was describing, it would take about 4 hours to accelerate to where they would hit a 0 point. They would hit null time, and they would traverse the space between our solar system and the Pleiadian system in no time at all. The 500 light years would be like instant. And then it would take another 4 hours to decelerate to get to the planet in the Pleiades star system.
Yeah,
well,
and
yeah, go ahead.
I see now we got 1 minute left before the break, so let's just continue this thought just a little bit afterwards, and then maybe we can get some of the obscure.
Let me tell. I got to meet David Froning personally. I got to be friends with David Froning. So let me tell that story after the break. How about doing that?
Let's do that.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then we will be coming back here right after the break with the Universal Consciousness Show, and we're talking with Jim Nichols, and we're going to be going into some of the stuff that you may never have heard about Billy Myers.
You're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show. The Universal Consciousness Show. Your weekly connection to the truth.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Share your knowledge by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers find us on Skype at KCOR Radio. It's time to abandon your fear and question what you think you know.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
More awakening awaits.
After this, after this, after this, after this, after this, after this.
The Fenton Files, where it's all connected.
You see, whoever controls technology controls the world.
Come explore a universe full of possibilities. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. The Fenton Files. Go where no other show has gone before.
You can deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there.
Whether it be UFOs, aliens, conspiracies, or even consciousness, your host, Lorian Fenton, has a file for that. The Fenton Files. Your journey to the truth is but a file away. Live, Monday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The Fenton Files.
Incredibly intense.
Your truth is just waiting to be discovered.
Toxins are everywhere, from the air we breathe to the food we eat and the water we drink. In a world where 80,000 known toxins and heavy metals threaten our very existence, how are you going to protect yourself and your loved ones? Introducing Pure Body Extra Strength, the world's first colloidal zeolite that helps trap and remove toxins as well as heavy metals from your body that are messing with your memory, clarity, sleep, and focus. Don't just take our word for it or the testimonials from our thousands of happy customers. Check out the hundreds of articles and case studies on the National Institute of Health website proving zeolite's powerful ability to remove toxins. For a limited time, listeners to KCOR will receive 10% off their first order. To get started, go to trypurebody.com and enter promo code RADIO10. Again, that's trypurebody.com. Toxic junk is all around us, but now you can take back control of your health and protect yourself by detoxing with Pure Body Extra Strength. You'll be on your way to sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and feeling more energetic. Go to trypurebody.com right now and get started today.
Monday nights are about to become hauntingly good, as Reverend Sean Whittington possesses the airwaves with Vegas Supernatural. Tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern for Vegas Supernatural, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. There's a war raging between good and evil. The question is, which side are you fighting on? Tune in Monday nights as Reverend Sean Whittington sets the new standard for paranormal radio with some of the most influential personalities in the world today. Vegas Supernatural, hosted by Reverend Sean Whittington, every Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The one show even the devil doesn't want you to hear.
Are you ready to go?
It's showtime!
Here we go, world. You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Bring this about.
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Their base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots to a higher consciousness. This is the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
Share your knowledge by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Find us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us on the live chat at KCORradio.com. Back to your enlightened hosts, Aage, Nost, and Diana Seraphine.
Hello, and we are back with the Universal Consciousness Show, and we're talking to Jim Nichols about some of the behind-the-curtain stuff that we normally would not hear about Billi Meier and his story of his contact with the Pleiades, the civilization of the Pleiades. So let's continue with this, Jim.
Yeah, well, Wendell, came to the conclusion, well, since we can't actually prove that Billi Meier really did go to the Pleiades, let's see if that technology is actually feasible. And it's like, if we can absolutely prove that it's impossible, it's physically, there's no physics that will allow that kind of technology or that kind of space travel, then the rest of Billi Meier's discussion is really academic. So, like I said, we met. Wendell found a gentleman who worked for McDonnell Douglas Aerospace by the name of David Froning, who actually confirmed that, yes, that kind of technology was in fact feasible. And he's also said that we're in fact working on that kind of technology ourselves. So over the next few years, I got to meet David Froning myself personally. The city of Scottsdale was considering putting together a permanent aerospace industry exposition in Scottsdale. And a number of us were contacted with the possibility of being consultants for this program. And that was Wendell Stevens, Bob Dean, Ted Lohman, Jim Dilatoso, and myself. We were recruited as potential consultants because part of this aerospace exhibit was to include flying saucers and a UFO component. So we had 2 or 3 visits with the city of Scottsdale on preliminary discussions on putting this exhibition together. Well, over the course of that, I got to be friends with David Froning. And I remember having lunch with David at one point, and he's very, very matter of fact, very, very, very lovely gentleman. I got to be friends with both him and his wife, and I believe they lived here in Arizona also. But David was explaining to me, trying to explain to me, like, Jim, we really do have flying saucer technology, without coming out and telling me, yeah, we really do have flying saucer technology. But he was trying to explain to me just the basic fundamentals of torsion physics propulsion, which at the time was completely alien to me. It's like I could not wrap my head around what he was describing. But he very candidly admitted, he says, we have taken chemical propulsion rocket technology as far as it will go. And it says, we know we can never reach interstellar space with chemical propulsion systems. So it has to be something different than that. So he was trying to very cautiously explain to me what that was. But then in 1990, David Froning did addressed an audience of astrophysicists and astronomers and engineers at a University of Arizona symposium in 1990, where he admitted that we had modified field propulsion technology, which is anti-gravity. Mm-hmm. We have matter antimatter conversion, exotic field tension, which is time travel, and we have transluminal flight capability, which is to say, yes, we have faster than light travel, or propulsion systems. So essentially, this is 1990. So you can put 2 and 2 together and say, well, if we have this kind of technology, we probably have a secret space program to go along with it. And, let your imagination run wild on that one.
Yeah, already doing it.
But anyway, I said, this is what he told me. This is what I learned from him firsthand. So it's like, okay. So, well, if we can do it, that means the Pleiadians can do it too, because these are, the physics behind this are universal.
Yeah.
So you can be the Pleiades, you can be Venus, you can be anywhere in the universe, and these physics would still apply. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a major confirmation that at least that part of Billy Meier's claim was legitimate. And Billy would say this. The other thing is that the little spaceships that Billy took pictures of, they didn't fly here by themselves back and forth to the Pleiades. There was a huge mothership that was parked in orbit near Earth, where they had these huge hangar bays where they had hundreds. Billy claimed he had been taken aboard this ship, and he called it the Great Spacer. The Great Spacer. And it's a huge spherical mothership that's about 10 miles in diameter, and he said they would land in these landing bays or these storage bays for these smaller craft, and he says that they would be lined up by the hundreds, these little beam ships. So,
wow.
It sounds like wild science fiction, but is it possible? Of course it's possible.
Well, the thing is that when you're thinking of a ship 10 miles across, that is almost unfathomable in our technology.
Right.
But let's take it a step further. What if they can create that by thought? Because I know there are some technologies out there that you can think it into existence and it becomes extracted from the vacuum into a physical arena. So it could possibly be done that way.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But anyway, the transit time between the Pleiades and Earth was in the Great Spacer. The Great Spacer would be the vehicle that would take them back and forth to the Pleiades. And Billi would describe how when they would go into null time, they would accelerate to the point of 0 point, where you're completely outside time and space. And he says, like, for a split second, you don't exist. You just cease to exist. And he said that the feeling of that 0 point experience was pure bliss. Pure bliss.
Now that makes sense.
I said, well, that sounds about right. That's
yeah.
If you're completely outside of time, space, your body, everything has just ceased to exist for a split second. So yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Yeah, what about some of the other stuff that maybe about Billi Meier and his contact? I know Diana had a question here, and let's run that by him, Diana, what you thought of there.
Yes, I was wondering if Billi Meier has some information about their spirituality. So what do we know about their spirituality, and also what do we know about their agenda of what they are doing on the earth?
I didn't get the second part of you asking about the spirituality, and what was the second part of your question?
The second part was if we know something about their agenda of what they are doing on the earth.
Why they're here?
Yeah.
Their agenda.
Yes.
I can't speak for their entire agenda. It should be noted that the Pleiadians didn't come here specifically to meet Billi Meier. They didn't fly 500 light years across space just to talk to Billi Meier. That was a side note. That was a little side project, Earth sociology project that was unique to Semyazi. But they explained to Billi that they had multiple operations going on planet Earth, and covert operations, I should add, that they really didn't go into great detail, or I didn't have access to that information. Wendell may have known in much more detail what their agenda was here. But Semyazi's agenda was just that. She wanted to demonstrate to Earth humans that we are not the only intelligent beings alive in the universe. And the other thing was that she shared that their perception of they didn't have like a god that they worshipped. It's like it was more like a quantum field that we're all part of, that you can't identify God separately from the creation. God, we as individuals and all of that we experience in this reality is an expression of God. But they didn't use the term God, they called it creation. Which is if you listen to some of the commentary from quantum physicists is so that we are all individualized expressions of a single consciousness, a single awareness, and it's like that. Somehow that feels right to me.
And that fits right in with what Samjazi told him.
Exactly, and you go to the Bible, and they ask Jesus, well, where is the kingdom of God? And Jesus says, well, the kingdom of God is within you. And St. Francis would say that what we are looking for is what is looking. So what's looking out from your eyes is consciousness awareness, and that the core of that conscious awareness is universal. So as I read it, it's like Samyazi's cosmic philosophy was very in line with quantum physics.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've been doing it a lot longer than we have. So, thousands or more years. So we should presume that they would have gotten much further ahead in their technology.
Well, yes and no.
I want to hear
Samyazi she claimed that. Now, there was another female cosmonaut that Billi had interaction with, and her name was Aage.
Yeah.
But she was not Pleiadian. She came from a parallel universe to which the Pleiadians had access. And she claimed that it's called the Dal universe, D-A-L, Dal universe, which is parallel to ours. But she said that Samyazi confided that, the Pleiadians were not that tech-oriented. They were not that technologically oriented, and they actually got their beam ships were from the Dal universe. That the civilization in the Dal universe that they interacted with was more technically oriented than the Pleiadians were. So she kind of shared that. But what was interesting also, the technology that Samyazi described, they had artificial intelligence also, but she said it was kind of a combination between mechanical and organic. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a blend between the two. So she described that she was like in constant telepathic contact with her own spaceship. Her little beam ship is like an extension of her own consciousness, which is very interesting. So it's like, is she the guidance system of her beam ship? It's like she sits in her chair and in her mind she pictures where she wants to go, and she goes there.
Yeah, that's what I
very
understood.
Interesting because that same technology was ascribed to Maria Orsic and the Vril group in pre-World War II Germany.
Yeah.
So it's like, so we're getting really interesting stuff here.
Yeah, and there are several ships, crashed flying saucers that was found, and they found no engines in it.
Well, that and no control panels.
Yes.
No control panels. So...
then there's only technology of the mind left. Conscious technology drives it and flies it.
Right. But, so anyway, that's very interesting stuff with regards to how Samyazi could fly
and then there were some notes, that private note from Billi Meier that was also given to Colonel Stevens. Is there anything in there that you could comment on, or is that something that is kind of too far out on the fringes?
You'd have to be more specific.
There were some notes, the so-called contact
Wendell
notes.
had access to the contact notes.
Yeah.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay, the contact notes were extensive.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were 1,200 pages of contact notes, originally written in German, that Wendell had access to. And when I met him they had already translated like 400 pages. So they had already translated a quarter of it. But there was some conflict between Billi and Wendell in that Billi didn't want any Americans translating the messages. So there was kind of and this became a huge conflict between Billi and Wendell. I think late on into the 1980s, Wendell finally published his American version translation of the messages, and he published them in 4 books: Messages from the Pleiades, volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that absolutely infuriated Billi, because whoever the translator was, Billi claimed that the translations were not accurate. That to translate from German to English, so Billi was absolutely adamant that the translation had to be absolutely meticulous. And so there's this conflict. Well, which version of the contact notes are really authentic?
I think I agree with that, and let's then run this one by Diana, because she speaks 7 languages. One of them is German and English, and there are things that is in German you cannot directly translate it to English. Isn't that right, Diana?
Oh, there are many things.
Many things.
Yes.
So anyway, this became a huge conflict, and eventually precipitated a break between Billi and the Figu and the American investigators. No, I don't. I've read Wendell's version of the messages, but I've never read the Figu version of the messages to compare the two. So I can't personally comment on that. But anyway, that. The Figu essentially broke off all relations with all the American investigators at that point. And this is like 1994.
Yeah.
But Billi was having his own problem. Billi, having contact with the Pleiadians did not make Billi's life very pleasant. It was a huge challenge for him. He had visitors from all over the world inundate his farm there in Switzerland for a time. They had no personal life. His wife, Calliope, eventually filed for divorce with Billi. He was estranged from his kids because of the contacts. It was not fun, and as I would recommend to anybody who thinks it would be really fun to have contact from the Pleiades or any benevolent extraterrestrial and then go public with it, you don't have any idea what a firestorm of personal disruption you're inviting into your life. This is not fun and games, and this is part of the problem. And this is, I have a blog on my website, which is about the 40th anniversary of the Billi Meier contact, which views it from an exopolitical point of view, and this whole issue of benevolent contact. If you think it's going to be an easy thing to do or a fun thing to do, Earth humans themselves will ruin your life because of going public with this kind of information. You could have a contact with the most loving, benevolent extraterrestrials you could possibly imagine, but the people who would ruin your life are your fellow humans here on planet Earth.
Yeah.
But Jim, I also have a question now, apart from the Billi Meier story. So according to your researches about extraterrestrial, did you ever think about this idea that some of them could be a future form of us trying to change something in their past?
A future form of us trying to change? Yes. Yeah, and in a certain context, you could see that, because the Pleiadians very bluntly stated that the course that humanity is on right now is totally suicidal. that you will destroy yourselves. And if there isn't a change in consciousness, a mass change in human consciousness, we are doomed to self-destruction. So that was because the Pleiadians could see, whether they were from our future or whether they could see our future. Part of their game plan was to try to shift us away consciously from the course that we're on. Does that answer your question?
Yes, because I always think about what if the extraterrestrial, not all of them, but some of them, they could be a future form of us. A future me, or a future you, or a future us.
Right, exactly. Well, it's like we and the Pleiadians are the same. We're like I said at the outset, we come from from the same root race. We come from the same root race that created Earth humans, created the Pleiadians. So we have that in common. We're cousins. So it's like, but we went down a different evolutionary path than they did. And they can see that the evolutionary path we are on is totally self-destructive, and they're very candid about it. It's just, yes, civilizations can simply destroy themselves.
Yeah,
it
and they
can
do.
happen.
Yeah, it's happened before
and
here.
It's right, and each civilization, like an individual, has to assume responsibility for itself.
Yeah. And now I see that we got 2 minutes left of the show, so let's see if you have any final comments and something that maybe we could leave the listeners with, Jim.
Oh, where do we want to go here?
I think you did one there, that if you have a contact, maybe keep it to yourself for a while.
That would be it. It's if you read my blog, look at Earth humans from an exopolitical point of view, and ask yourselves: are we ready? Have we approached minimum standard for open contact with a benevolent extraterrestrial race? If you were a benevolent extraterrestrial, would you waste a 5-cent postage stamp on this planet? Yeah. Considering the mess that we're in right now?
5 cents I would. And we are just about out of time.
So we got a long way to go before we reach minimum standard of civilization, I think.
Yeah, we do. Well, I thank you very much, Jim. This was good, and there's so much more to talk about, so let's do a little more of this in the future here. So thank you very much. And to you all out there listening, we appreciate you. Thank you for being here with us, and we will be back next week, and we will see you then.
This has been the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly guide to a deeper understanding of the all that we are.
Well, in a few years, it will be a matter of common sense to very many people that they're one with the universe. It'll be so simple.
Live Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, hosts, or their guests, please visit universal-consciousness-show.com. That's universal-consciousness-show.com. Remember, there's a shift coming. A new earthly paradigm. A shift to universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the